Marino, along with Lisa Booth, Juan Williams, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump is in the UK and already making waves, holding a press conference with British Prime Minister Theresa May. The president downplaying the fallout of a controversial interview he gave to British newspaper The Sun, where he accused May of wrecking Brexit and killing off any chance of a vital U.S. trade deal.
I didn't criticize the Prime Minister. I have a lot of respect for the Prime Minister. And unfortunately, there was a story that was done, which was, generally fine, but it didn't put in what I said about the Prime Minister. And I said tremendous things. It's called fake news. She's going to make a decision as to what she's going to do. The only thing I ask of Theresa is that we make sure we can trade, that we don't have any restrictions, because we want to trade with the UK. And the UK wants to trade with us.
The president was met with thousands of protesters and a giant flying Trump baby blimp in London, which he said made him feel unwelcome.
Oh. To make me feel unwelcome. No reason for me to go to London. I used to love London as a city. I haven't been there in a long time. But when they make you feel unwelcome, why would I stay there?
You should say. One of the biggest issues angering demonstrators is Trump's tough stance on immigration, a subject he also broached during his press conference, warning Europe of the potential risks.
I think it's been very bad for Europe. I think Europe is a place I know very well, and I think that what has happened is very tough. It's a very tough situation. I mean, you see the same terror attacks that I do. I know it's politically not necessarily correct to say that, but I'll say it, and I'll say it loud. And I think they better watch themselves.
Greg, you lived in the UK. Let's start with London. It was amazing to me that many people had the day off to just hang out. And,
on a Friday afternoon. The interesting thing, number one, is the balloon has absolutely no effect because Trump is actually bigger than the balloon. I mean, he actually is, as a phenomenon, wherever he goes, has a greater impact than anything there. So he is the #1 story in England. He's the biggest thing in England. He's bigger than Big Ben. I want to make a metaphor, an analogy, if I may, to my friends in England. I live there. I'm an Anglophile. I love the music. In the 1970s, music was plagued by soft rock and progressive rock. Things like Air Supply and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, just really boring, ponderous music, pompous songs with 15-minute drum solos. Then in 1976, the Ramones from New York, Queens, went to England and played. And what happened? Destroyed that whole scene, and all these punk bands started. The Clash, The Damned, the Sex Pistols. Thousands of new bands happened. Sound familiar? Donald Trump is the Ramones of politics. And what he's done is what punk did to music, Trump is doing to the entire political scene. He's a brutal, blunt, game-changing, but he's elementally true. You may not like punk rock, but the messages in the songs were true. They were 3 minutes, 2 minutes of truth. That's what you're seeing. This is the first punk rock president.
Is that the metaphor you said was going to blow our minds?
Yes, in fact, I got it from a buddy of mine, my buddy Paul. Oh, he emailed me last night and said, he's a punk rock president. And I go, yes.
Punk rock president. Oh, I mean, I like a country music president, too.
You had one. That's G.W. Bush.
That's true.
He does kind of rage against the machine.
Rage against the machine is true. Do you want to carry this metaphor forward?
I will, because I was actually thinking of something similar, because everyone focuses on the way President Trump says things, but the way he says it makes you focus on what he's saying. For instance, if President Trump hadn't said that Germany was held captive by Russia, we would be talking about something like the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is important because it does, in fact, give Russia leverage over Germany and other European nations. So it is something important, especially at a time, when we're all talking about Russia aggression and we're looking at putting sanctions on Russia. It sort of undercuts that narrative and that objective if they're funneling money to Russia through the pipeline. But we wouldn't be talking about that if he didn't say it that way. Or you look at immigration. All you have to do is look at the Paris attackers, the ease that they're able to get around Europe, go back to Syria, come back, hiding in places like Msnbc, which are the epitome of a failure of the integration of immigration policies and the lack of assimilation. So, I mean, he says these things, and at the face it seems outlandish, but will we be talking about the substance if he didn't say it in that way?
I don't know, actually, but maybe not. I was just thinking though about the Theresa May comments, Jesse, and he gave the interview to The Sun. They released the audio. He said it was fake, but I do think that he actually maybe felt a little bad that she felt slighted in her own paper while he was there.
I think he did feel bad. He felt a human emotion. That is possible with this president, and a lot of people think he's just this maniacal robot that doesn't care about people's feelings, but the way he was kind of over the top praising her as this strong, decisive ally that is a big winner. And when he calls you a winner...
And it might work out in her favor because now we're going to get a trade deal, it looks like.
Exactly. And remember when President Obama said that, you know, if you guys do Brexit, we're going to get in the back of the line on the trade. He's done the opposite, and he's reached his arm across the Atlantic and offered an olive branch there. I thought meeting the Queen was the bigger thing today, just the visual that was pumped into the world. And when we see this on television, people enjoy the spectacle of it. They like the red and the colors, and she's in the blue, and the president's trying to walk like this. And it's just very formal, and it shows how the president was respected. I know the president personally enjoys that kind of pomp and circumstance. He enjoys the respect, them rolling out the red carpet. But it really solidified the special relationship today. You also saw the image of him holding Theresa May's hand, and then they had tea with the Queen, and he probably gave him a big boost of adrenaline at the end of this. And at the end of it, when you look at it, the European countries did make commitments to boost their defense spending, and NATO is invigorated, I believe, and more focused on the task at hand and on confronting Russia. So I think at the end of the day, the trip to Europe was positive, and we've had great economic news this week. Strzok humiliated himself.
We're going to get to all that, Jesse.
It has been a very good week for the president.
We just talked about that. Juan, go ahead.
Wow, you know, you're something. But I will say, I didn't anticipate. I didn't anticipate Greg making an argument for immigration. That we should send the kids from Queens over to London. Why not? Right?
It changed the world.
But Trump said that in fact these immigrants are tearing the fabric of Europe and London apart, and he goes after the mayor. And by the way, Jesse, he says that he loves Theresa May. You know what? He's the one that gave the interview. It's not like somebody forced him to talk to the Sun newspaper. He gave an interview that was hostile towards a leader he was about to sit down. He created the chaos. He created this situation.
Right, and then he created the making up together.
Yes.
So
and
that's how he rolls.
Ultimately, Juan, that might work out in Theresa May's favor, right? Because
it could, but
it put him a little bit on the defensive, and it put him in a position of being quite amiable. And so because she was gracious, and she was like, oh, no problem, it's fine. Like very British, you know, stiff upper lip. No problem. She's going to walk away with possibly getting a trade deal when earlier in the week her government was falling apart.
I don't know. I think Boris Johnson left. I don't know that how close they are to actually falling apart. He says she's a strong leader. He wishes there were more leaders. I don't know. But I will say he goes over there. He stirs the pot. Then he tries to unstir the pot. Again, he is, you know, the be-all of the whole story. But to me, you can't get over the fact that 100,000 people in the streets of London. I mean, forget the crying baby.
They were arguing. Let me get Greg in here. The London protests, as I saw Benjamin Hall earlier reporting in that 2 o'clock hour, was that they were really campaigning against capitalism.
No, it's true. A lot of this, this is what happens with left-wing protests, is it becomes a grab bag of everything. You saw women dressed up as characters from The Handmaid's Tale, which is the fictional miniseries about a misogynistic dystopia where women are forced into sexual slavery. Now, I doubt any of those women dressed up as those handmaids ever did anything about the mass rape in England, what has to do with is it Rotterdam? The sexual slavery that took place there was an absolute scandal that went on for years, and I don't see any signs for that. No, but to Juan's point, everybody hates his style. Everybody hates his style. That's why he's punk rock. But the New York Times even had to admit today, was it today's paper? The headline was, Trump got everything Obama ever asked for.
I didn't see that headline, but it sounds like a good one.
That's not fake news.
That's one of the things in the New York Times I agree with.
But I think you guys understand, in a way, he's not even playing to the Europeans. He's not playing to Theresa May.
Everybody plays to their domestic audience.
Right, so he's playing to an American base, and when he brings up the immigration issue, he's trying to stir that up here. I think he talks about terrorism.
Truth to it as well, though.
There's no truth. I mean, are you kidding? Europe, I mean, what did Theresa May say as she was standing there next to him? Immigration has been great for Great Britain. That's what she said.
But Juan, all of from Germany to Denmark, to Sweden, to all of these populists are rising up because of
Correct. So I think he's playing. He's playing to populist nationalist sentiments that he would like to excite here at home for the midterms. But that is not. It's not the case that you are breaking apart Europe and the fabric is being torn, and that the mayor of London is responsible for all this terrorism. I hope he says that to Vladimir Putin about poisoning people in London.
Jesse, one of the signs that they had today that I thought was kind of preposterous, it said, "No to Trump, no to war." Like, well, what war? Like, Trump is really not the warmongering
Just
president.
the war on the press.
Yeah,
That's the only war he's successfully prosecuting.
Like,
I spoke to someone
except for that one article today.
Yeah, except for the New York Times. I spoke to someone today who said these are not, the downtrodden, lower class people that have been crushed by the Industrial Revolution. These are people named Alistair that come from snobby backgrounds and went to nice prep schools that can afford to take the Friday afternoon off.
All right, the dust is still settling on Capitol Hill after an explosive public hearing with anti-Trump FBI agent Peter Strzok. This as his lover, Lisa Page. A question behind closed doors today. All the developments next.
I would call it the witch hunt. I would call it the rigged witch hunt after watching some of the little clips. I didn't get to watch too much because I'm here. It's a different time zone, to put it mildly. But after watching the people, the man that was testifying yesterday, I call it the rigged witch hunt.
That was the president earlier reacting to yesterday's House hearing with anti-Trump FBI agent Peter Strzok, a key player in the Hillary Clinton email and Russia investigations. The president's comments came just moments before Robert Mueller indicted 12 Russian officers for election meddling. As you know, yesterday's hearing was contentious, ugly, and fiery, and Republicans and Democrats still going at it.
We won't get justice from the Democrats. If you watched the hearing today, you saw the Democrats give a 5-hour cat bath to Peter Strzok.
The Republicans did not show up yesterday to hear the answers. They wanted to use the questions to undermine Bob Mueller's investigation. This is all an effort to protect the president.
You actually had a Democrat say that because Strzok was testifying and we were asking him hard questions, that he deserved a Purple Heart. I mean, how absurd can you be to suggest something like that?
I think the Republicans acted like the defense team of Donald Trump, and I'm sure the Kremlin is very, very happy.
I think it just shows how much they hate Donald Trump. This is a guy who's been demoted by the FBI, who's been criticized by the FBI director, by the inspector general, demoted to the human resources, and is under investigation for an ethics review.
This was clearly a show put on by the Republicans. I think we're really being distracted by this hearing, and I think that was probably the main purpose, to try to raise questions again about the Mueller investigation.
Meanwhile, former FBI attorney Lisa Page meeting with congressional investigators behind closed doors after initially defying a subpoena to answer questions about her text message exchanges trashing Trump. All right, Greg, the dust is settled after yesterday's hearing. Now, how do you feel about it?
Everyone, I know people are going to get mad. Everyone there was obnoxious. Everybody on both sides. What bothered me were the self-appointed white knights of the Democrats rushing to defend Strzok as if he was a princess stuck in high dungeon. Then there were the Republicans showboating to a point where they actually turned him into Oliver North. But first you had the Democrats offering Strzok more cover than an oversized straw hat. And then you had the Republicans constantly trying to pull off the oversized straw hat. It drove me crazy. But the thing is, the point of this whole hearing is there's nothing you're going to get out of talking to Strzok, because accusing somebody of bias in 2016 is like accusing someone of being high at Woodstock. We were all biased. I know I was. I mean, we had some serious fights here. Everybody had strong feelings. And I know you're going to say, but he was an FBI agent, he was in charge of investigation, but you can't prove that his bias affected that. You can believe it, I believe it, but I can't prove it.
Very difficult to prove.
And the Inspector General said that very thing. He said that it's obviously looks like bias, but I can't say that there was any action that he took that was because of it. I don't know.
Do you think there's anything substantive to come out of this hearing that people can sink their teeth into? Or
Well,
is this just a dog and pony show?
if there were, that we would be talking about it. Okay, so I think that what happened is this drove partisans on both sides to their deepest, darkest corners. No new info, no minds changed, and Strzok was quite smug and arrogant, and why they didn't just let him be that way instead of making themselves look horrible, and that's what everybody's talking about.
Why don't you tell us, Dana, gee, how did Louis Gohmert make Republicans look horrible yesterday?
I already said it yesterday, and there's plenty of press about that today.
I mean, I just think it was way rude to somehow try to shame him for his affair and then bring his wife in. I mean, just awful.
I already said that yesterday.
But I'm just telling you today, because I think that you're asking about today and the impact it's had. So the key point yesterday was from the Republican perspective, let's prove that this man was so biased that the entire investigation into Trump is, in fact, useless, that you can't honestly judge what happened if the Russian interference and potential collusion because of Peter Strzok's behavior. In fact, what it revealed, if you want a news headline from yesterday, was there was no such plot to undermine Trump, that he could have come out with news about the Russian investigation.
No.
He didn't do it.
No.
Go ahead.
No, people keep saying this, and I think that's absolutely incorrect. Hillary Clinton was under a criminal investigation because there was enough evidence of potential wrongdoing to have a criminal investigation by the FBI. The Russia investigation was a counterintelligence investigation, largely looking at a foreign power potentially involved in our elections. Two entirely different things. Again, Comey told President Trump when he was first elected 3 different times that he wasn't under investigation. So no, those aren't two of the same thing. So I hate when people say that because it's not true.
So let me respond to you. What you have now is a situation where Mike Flynn and others in the Trump campaign, in fact, have either pled guilty or today, as we saw in terms of the indictment, you see people who were reaching out. Now, Rod Rosenstein today said nobody on the American side may have been aware of the efforts by these Russians. But what you have, Lisa, is today with the indictment, I think it was 12 today, you had 13 indicted in February. It's clear there was Russian interference ongoing, and the effort by people like
Hillary Clinton, the subject of a criminal investigation is different than a counterintelligence.
No, it's not,
yes,
because it was an ongoing investigation being run by the FBI, and guess who was in charge? Peter Strzok. But the big point for me is here you get President Trump today saying, I guess I'll bring it up with Putin on Monday, but there was no Perry Mason. There's not going to be any Perry Mason moment.
All right, let's get someone else in here. To your point, Juan, I mean, at that point in the Hillary deal, she had already set up a private server against the law and then shredded all the emails. So there was obvious evidence of wrongdoing. They started this counterintelligence investigation with no evidence of wrongdoing.
Why don't you go all the way back to Benghazi?
There still hasn't been any evidence of collusion and wrongdoing. But let's talk about the indictments.
No, you bring this up, so why don't you go back to Benghazi? All you want to do is talk about Hillary Clinton because you don't want to talk about You want to talk about Hillary Clinton.
All right,
but what strikes me is if you look at those Strzok emails, I'm amazed. Strzok's going after Eric Holder. He's going after Chelsea Clinton. He's going after Democrats. And yet, for one comment about Donald Trump.
It's more than one.
Could I wrap this up with a contrast? You compare the NATO summit to what we saw yesterday. You have a shouty mass of hysterics, of establishment politicians, and you have this lone singular person who actually gets crap done.
I can't wrap my head around Congress having a 10% approval rating.
Yeah, who are these 10%?
After yesterday's hearing,
All right, the University of Wyoming's new Cowboy slogan gets wrangled up in the heated controversy.
Terrible.
The uproar when we return.
Oh my, the PC police at it again, this time in the Cowboy State. A new marketing slogan at the University of Wyoming which says, quote, "The world needs more cowboys," end quote. Well, it's getting a backlash. The phrase sparking outrage from some faculty and Native American groups. They claim it's sexist and racist because it excludes women and people of color. The university defending the slogan, saying their cowboys are diverse. We now go to our local cowgirl, Dana.
Well, yeah, this is ridiculous. So my dad went to University of Wyoming, proud cowboy. you know, Liz Cheney's daughter, I think is going to be, I don't know if that's allowed. Am I allowed to say that? But anyway, she just got into the school, and she's going to be on the rodeo team, which is very exciting. I do like it that the Board of Trustees unanimously rejected this nonsense. I do think that this is proof that the world actually does need more cowboys, because it's preposterous. And the other thing is, when you are a part of a school and they say the world needs more cowboys, or let's say, where'd you go to school?
Trinity.
What was the mascot?
The Bantams.
The Bantams. Okay, are there male Bantams and female Bantams? I mean, it's just the Bantams. So you are a cowboy. If you go to the school, that's what it is.
Well, actually, I
It's
thought
like the
they had a good response, which was that they like the idea that if people respond to cowboys as John Wayne and the Marlboro Man, you know, white males, that they would be surprised if they opened up and realized that, hey, there are women, there are people of color, Native Americans, blacks, etc., and that the contrast then would say, hey, there's a different reality to the University of Wyoming. Do you think that sells, Jesse?
I think it sells, but I think it's simpler when you just say, this is the place for cowboys. That's why slogans work. You don't say, this is the place where there's cowboys, cowgirls, minority cowboys, cowpersons, and Indians. That just can't even fit on a brochure. And I also don't understand, like, you can't say Indians can't be a mascot and cowboys can't be a mascot. What does that leave you? Who else was on the prairie? I mean, you gotta have something. I just think people are soft in this country, and if you get offended or can't handle the mascot at the university you go to, you're weak, and you're not going to cut it in the real world.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we could just say cowpersons and
never.
No, no, I'm joking. Everybody can be a cowboy. No, this is so stupid. And my broader concern, as you mentioned, the weakness of society, because we're not building future generations of leaders. I mean, what General Mattis's are walking around college campuses when you're taught to not be able to tolerate people with different opinions, different races, you shut people down that, you know, look at life in a different way than you. How are you ever going to go out into the real world and face reality? Or even more, how are we breeding the next generation of leaders when everyone is so soft and weak?
Well, wait a second. So here's the contrary thought. The contrary thought would be you don't want a slogan that makes people feel excluded.
You can be a cowboy. I can be a cowboy. Jesse's a cowboy. Dana's a cowboy.
Well, you know, it
Greg's
excludes all the people that aren't in the university. That's the deal. When you have a mascot at the university, you rally around the mascot.
Well, I'm all for it, Greg.
It's an easy solution. You change the name to Bovine Administrator. How does that work? That is an amazing, I came up with that today, Bovine Administrator. Are you sure this story wasn't concocted in an underwater lab by Brian Kilmeade and Steve Doocy for Fox and Friends? Because this is the absolute perfect epitome of the outrage story. And actually, it's true. And it comes down to a very simple equation that we're running into now every single day. Do you change everything in life to satisfy a tiny, tiny block of people who are only demanding these changes for an exercise in domination, right? Yes. Because you know that changing cowboy to bovine administrator is not going to improve your life. As an activist or a social justice warrior, it's not actually going to do anything to your life. So this is more about pure attention-seeking behavior. So you're sniffing constantly for some kind of vulnerability where you can say, aha, you are an oppressor. You must change now. And that's what this is about.
And it's never going to be good enough.
Yeah, and more people have to be like this college and say, we're willing to risk the slings and arrows of an angry, tiny percentage of people. Grow up. By the way, it
was unanimous.
Yeah. That means everyone, by the way.
Yeah. No, that means everyone on the board.
Yes.
Right, but it doesn't mean that prospective students, and believe me, the reason they're having this marketing campaign is to bring in more people.
There's lots of colleges.
They don't want people coming from other parts of the country to say,
if you're applying to the University of Wyoming, I'm pretty sure you know what you're getting.
Also, yeah, but the hope is
you probably don't have that big of problems in life if this is what you're stewing over.
Oh, no. The people that think about this do have huge problems. It's called identity politics, and it's destroying their careers and futures.
Yeah.
And they're coming after people who are useful and productive in society. We have to worry about this.
Yeah.
No, people are losing their jobs because they step on the wrong little landmine.
Oh, no, I think the identity politics politics worry here is the exact opposite, that you can have a broader identity for the cowboy, which is what I think some people here are saying, than simply the Marlboro Man, and people want to do that. I don't see anything wrong.
One day we'll talk about the Marlboro Man.
Okay. Outrage. Yes, more outrage for you. After Forbes calls reality TV star Kylie Jenner one of America's richest, and this is the controversial part, self-made women. That's next for your Fun on the 5.
Welcome back. Is this what self-made looks like? Backlash is brewing after the latest Forbes cover touting reality TV star Kylie Jenner as, quote, set to be the youngest ever self-made billionaire. Some are crying foul, claiming she's obviously had help from her famous family, the Kardashian-Jenner clan. Dictionary.com even got in on it, tweeting, self-made means having succeeded in life unaided. And one Twitter user writes, calling Kylie Jenner a self-made billionaire is like claiming made soup from scratch because you open a can and read it. All right, so everybody loves a good pull yourself up from the bootstrap story. But Greg, is Kylie Jenner self-made?
I don't know. I don't know if that's the problem. I think there should be the big message here is that she owns what she does, and this is something that everybody should be thinking about when they're young. Even if you're in your 30s or your 40s, you still have 4 to 5 decades left on this planet. You should own something. If it doesn't grow, you had the pleasure of owning it, and if it does grow, you can get rich. She's aspirational for so many young people to turn your hobby or your love into an occupation because you have the internet. You can open a storefront. If you're interested in a certain product or thing, you can make it your own. And if you don't make any money, it's still your hobby. But if you make money, you make money. So I think that a lot of people are, making fun of her. I think it's pretty cool. She majored in herself. She's the CEO of her own person.
Yep. Well, and Dana, so 3 years, she's made $900 million. That's a lot of money. She owns 100% of the business.
Exactly.
I do not own any of that. Is this criticism fair?
Not necessarily. I think a little bit of it is probably jealousy. And of course, it would be even more impressive if she had been born with zero and her parents never helped her and she didn't have famous sisters and stuff. But I think in today's world, how many people... my dad helped me find a summer job at a place where I worked in an office, and I worked my way up. How many people that you interview today, that's because your friend's daughter really needs a job and there's something, and everybody is helping somebody else out. She just happened to make a lot of money that way.
Well, and Jesse, the fat Jewish, that's his name from Instagram, just so people say that. So he's starting a GoFundMe page to raise the additional $100 million. It's obviously a joke and to get attention, and it's working. But Jesse, what do you make of all this?
Well, I'm self-made. I mean,
yes, you are.
Think about it. I started as a production assistant here, and now I'm on the 5. So I didn't have any help from anybody. People tried to keep me down.
No. Yes.
Listen, she's really attractive, and that's the key. She had a sister who got famous for you-know-what, and then she capitalized on that. She's got a famous name, famous family, but she's obviously got business savvy because these product lines or the makeup lines, whatever it is, are incredible, and people admire her, so I have a lot of respect for her. And, if she wants to share some of that fortune, I'm all here. I'm here.
Yes. I could see that pairing.
Juan, I'm sure you follow the Jenner Kardashian closely. What do you think of all this?
I think it's hilarious. I mean, first of all, maybe you guys can answer a question for me. Why are these people famous other than
I don't think you want to sit into that.
I mean, I don't have any idea. But I think that then somebody comes out with anything. And it didn't have to be cosmetics. It could have been clothing. It could have been cars. I don't know. And then everybody sells it on the basis of the name. So to somehow give her credit, I don't understand Forbes, because I read Forbes. I think it's a serious magazine. But to say self-made, I think, boy, talk about privilege. That's privilege. That's family, wealth, connection, and a mom who is an absolute shark when it comes to business. So I think maybe you should have put the mother on the cover, not her.
I'm sure she probably has.
Good point.
Well, and the mom, I guess, has made $17 million already off of the makeup line. But, you know, Jesse, if someone else's name was on the cover and they used the term self-made in the same reference, do you
No,
think
I think whoever said it was a jealousy. Yeah, people want to hate her because she looks really good on Instagram. I mean, she photographs really well. And she's got tons of fans online, and all these young women want to be her and look like her. And she's done really well selling that look.
No,
That's the bad news.
This is telling people what to do with. You don't have to go to college. All right? There are other options in this world. And the social media and the internet, as bad as they are, is offering opportunities for people to say, you know what? I like doing X, so I'm going to concentrate on X. And if that, I don't need to go to college. I think this is inspirational.
Yeah, I think it's destructive if that's the lesson, because I think the odds still are in America. Get the college degree.
Yeah, and have tons of college debt. The average 21-year-old's in total debt. She could pay off their
LeBron
debt.
didn't go to college, and he's worth what? Almost $1 billion.
Become a basketball player.
I play basketball like LeBron.
No, but we don't look like her.
Lisa, power through.
We got to go. Thank you, Dana. I appreciate that. All right, up next, the segment that you all love, Fan Mail Friday on the 5. Stay tuned.
Yeah, we're going to polka through the summer. I'm back from vacation, tanned, rejuvenated, and ready for some Fan Mail Friday. Okay. Ooh, this is a good one from French12871. That's his actual name. Interesting, isn't it, Twitter? What annoys you the most when you are flying, Jesse?
Wow, I have a lot.
I know. That's why you're going last.
Well, I don't like not flying first class. It's hard to go from first class and then go back to coach. You have to admit that's true.
Back with the peasants.
You know, I don't like when people kick the back of my seat. You know, I don't like when the bathroom's occupied and I have to go. I mean, there's a lot I don't like about flying. I could go on forever.
Juan?
Well, I mean, just from the start, I don't like the lines. So the security lines, especially like if it's on a holiday and you get a lot of people who aren't regular flyers, and they just stand there and like they want to argue about, why do I have to take off my jewelry? And you think, lady, shut up. But you know, I mean, like last night I went to the Mets game and they have a clear line there now. You just get in, and I think that people should use it.
But then if more people use it, then they need another clear line.
Right.
Clear plus.
You know when lines aren't bad? I was at Newark Airport and waiting in the line, and Chris Hemsworth was right in front of me in the line from Thor.
Yes.
Very handsome. And then the line didn't matter.
You know what? You know what you just told me?
Take your time.
You know what you just told me? That even Chris Hemsworth has to wait in line.
They're just like us.
But no, go ahead. I didn't want to take Dana.
Okay, I'm going to go with when somebody's playing their headphones louder than they should, and you can kind of hear their music, but not really. Super annoying. Anybody who is eating things like sunflower seeds on a plane, absolutely not. That's absolutely bad form. And also, the other thing that annoys me, and some people can't help it, but the shaking of the leg up and down.
That's me.
Because you're trying to read your book or do something, and only thing you can see out of the corner of your eye is somebody's leg going like this. It drives me
Thank God it's a leg. You know what? I'll tell you what. You know what I hate? I'm going to tell you what I hate, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me flying back from vacation. One, I don't like people taking off their shoes and socks.
That's disgusting.
Your feet are the least attractive part of your body. Also, okay, so I'm going on the plane with my wife, and we're not seated together, but we're seated in the same row, but we're not seated.
And they don't.
Yeah, and so I wait for the guy to come and sit next to me, and I go, hey, would you like, I said, would you like a window seat so I could sit with my wife? And he said, no, I'm okay. And he sat down. And I look at Elaine and I go, I'm sorry. And she sits down. And then he goes, hey, I just want to let you know, huge fan of the pod. I watch the show. I watch the show every day. Oh my God. I love the show. And I'm going like, well, what a great fan. Okay, actually, I kind of respect that. All right.
I think the takeaway is everyone's really easy to travel with.
Yes.
I'm not. I have very high standards.
Yeah. You know what, though? Let me just throw something in. The worst, I thought of something worse, which is when they make you sit on the tarmac for 3 or 4 hours.
That's awful. That's panicky. That's like being stuck in an elevator, a giant horizontal elevator with 300 strangers with their socks off. All right, Facebook question from Michael W. Baseball players have walkout music for when they walk out to the plate when they bat. What would your walkout song be when walking on the set?
Boys of Summer. I love that song. God, I love that song.
That's your answer to
everything. I know. It's like, who do you hang out with? Boys of Summer.
It's my nice to have a canned response.
Great song.
All comes down to boys.
I would steal from the president and do "You Can't Always Get What You Want." I just think I did it actually at a conference one time because I just think it's hilarious that so many people dislike him and he walks out. So
I want to change mine. I want mine to be "Hail to the Chief."
While you're in first class?
Why?
Oh, I think like "Eye of the Tiger" I like Bobby Brown's "My Prerogative." I just think that's a cool song.
Yes. Terrible person, though.
This just takes me back to when I was in 3rd grade, and Josh Williams asked me who my favorite band was, and I said REO Speedwagon, and he made so much fun of me as if that was not a cool answer.
What's his name?
Josh Williams.
I bet he's nobody now. And
Might not be.
He probably watches
you.
you.
He used to wear an AC/DC shirt.
Oh, well, then he was probably pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe he was right. There's no comparison between AC/DC and REO Speedwagon.
I thought it was kind of lame. I don't know.
Well, now that he runs Goldman Sachs, I guess you have to.
How about you got to know when to fold them?
That's a good laundry song. No, I would say, coming out, I would do the theme to Shaft. All right. Oh, okay, I'll be quick. What's your funniest blooper, Dana?
Oh, here, when I got bleeped one time because Eric Holder was saying something in the soundbite, and I didn't know we were coming back to air, and I was saying something quite derogatory about the comment, and I got caught, and I got bleeped, like somebody else who used to be on this show. Like there were like 2 people who've ever been bleeped on this show.
And you're one of them.
You were one of them?
Yes.
That's surprising.
I mean, this was off camera. I walked into a glass door today. Scratched my head. I wish you got to pull the security foot.
But you know, life is full of bloopers if that's a blooper.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's like every day.
We meant TV, Juan. What's any blooper?
I don't know. I mean, I say stupid things all the time. You know.
You know what? Your fans are going to agree with that.
There you go.
Lisa, any mistakes recently?
Well, I mean, like you try to say something, you forget, and then it's just silent.
I mean, did you hear her in the A block?
Hey, slow down. She's a guest.
The past 50 minutes. The past 50 minutes.
All right. Mine was when we did a segment on Red Eye about circus peanuts. And that's all I'm going to say, because I didn't say it that way. One more thing up next.
It's time now for one more thing. That was like the best commercial break in a long time.
That doesn't help people.
My one more thing is, guess what? It's this.
Guess what? Oh, yeah.
Dana's corny joke of the day. I got to get my earpiece in here. Okay. Have you heard about the latest pirate movie?
No.
Have you heard about the latest pirate movie?
Rated R.
Yes.
I love that Jesse just quickly using
That was good, man.
Okay.
Nicely done.
What did the dune say to the ocean? What did the dune say to the ocean?
When are you coming over?
He said, how you doing?
That's good.
Did I do it right? Okay, try. What did the fish do during summer break? What did the fish do during summer break?
Pick up gills?
Nothing. They're always in school.
Oh.
Which letter is the coolest?
Ooh, now I'm doing the
What's the
alphabet.
coolest? Iced tea. And my last one. Why did I stop searching for shellfish on the beach? Why did I stop searching for shellfish on the beach?
You got crabby? You got crabs.
These are pretty hard.
I pulled a muscle.
Oh, that was good.
All right, Greg, yours.
I like you got crabs better. Never mind. The Greg Gutfeld Show, Saturday, 10 p.m. I got Charles Hurt. He's
I love him.
He's on every single show today.
Yeah, he's wearing seersucker, by the way.
Oh, well, not tonight. Joe Mackey, it's actually tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Cat Tim, Tires, great show. Also, my book tour starts. I'll be beginning in August 4th in Texas. I'll be in Texas for a couple days. I'll be in New York, and then I'll be in New Jersey. And where else will I be? I'll be in California. But I know you're going to love this. August 25th, The Villages.
The Villages.
The Villages.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right, Jesse.
All right. Donald Trump meets the Queen. Antifa clashes with ICE. An out-of-control road rage and surveillance video, Waters World, 8 p.m. Saturday night. I have the ladies, Diamond and Silk, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Katie Pavlich, and Jillian Mealy makes her Waters World debut. Check it out.
All right. Juan Williams.
Well, one Arizona woman very lucky to be alive after she became trapped in her car, which plunged into a canal off a highway in Mesa. At first, the rescuer is in the water, attempting to see if anyone is alive in the submerged vehicle. He then indicates no one survived. But in a flash, he sees or feels some movement. He then throws his keys to the shore and dives under the water.
God.
The firefighter emerges with the woman in his arms.
Wow.
Firefighters pull the two onto land as the woman in her 50s gasps for air. She's expected to be okay. Man, I gotta tell you, she better thank her lucky stars. That was an amazing rescue. Hats off to the firemen, everybody involved.
All right, Lisa.
Very scary. Well, GOP candidate Katie Arrington is back on the campaign trail. She, of course, got into a terrible car accident.